Welcome back, students. Today we're going to do lesson 5.4, division of decimals by whole numbers. Today we're going to have both single-digit and two-digit divisors, and our dividends will have decimals in them. As we look at the first example problem, in a swimming relay, each swimmer swims an equal part of the total distance. Brianna and 3 other swimmers won a relay in 5.68 minutes. What is the average time each relay team member swam? So if we look here, we're going to set the division problem up here on the right, and we're going to go ahead and cross off the model side. We're not going to do the model part. We're just going to do the actual dividing. And we go ahead and start the division here in step 1. 4 goes into 5 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. And then we subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. So we can then check. 1 cannot be shared among the other 4 groups, so we're going to keep going. As we scroll down here to step 2, after we subtract, we bring the 6 down. Now, the key to division with decimals is where the decimal point goes. It's very important that you keep each of your numbers in the correct spot when you divide, because the decimal point is going to move straight up into the quotient. So from the dividend, it's going to move straight up into the quotient. So we're going to have an answer of 1 point something else. So as we continue to divide, 4 goes into 16 4 times. Get rid of these. 4 times 4 is 16. 16 minus 16 is 0. So as we kind of talk ourselves through here, we're going to divide 16 tenths by 4. We know that 4 times 4 tenths is going to give us that. We're going to subtract the 16 minus the 16, and we get a remainder of 0. That's basically walking us through what we did there. We then move to step 3. Remember, we had the decimal point straight up. We had a 4 here to get our 16, and we subtracted and got 0. So you can go ahead and fill that in. We then bring the next number down, which is an 8, and we again start over just regular division. 4 goes into 8 2 times, because 4 times 2 is 8, and we subtract, and we get a remainder of 0. With nothing left to bring down, so we are finished. Again, going through this, we multiplied 4 times 2 to get our 8. We then subtracted 8 minus 8, and we got a remainder of 0. With division of decimals, and we'll get into this later into the chapter, we're going to work until we get a remainder of 0. So today's lesson is all going to end in remainders of 0, so everything should work out. You will not have any remainders in this lesson. So to go back to it, each girl then swam an average of 1 42 minutes for each swimmer in their relay. When we turn to the next page, it says divide as you would with whole numbers. So we're going to divide 40 and 89 hundredths divided by 47. Now again, we're not going to worry too much about the estimate, but we are going to just go ahead and divide like we did, like it were 4,089 divided by 47. We're not going to worry about the decimal point until the very end. 47 goes into 4 0 times. So we're going to put an X there. You can also put a 0. Then I'm going to go to the second one, and I'm going to treat it like it's 47 going into 40. Well, we know, again, 47 is too big for 40, so we put a 0 there. So now we look at 47 going into 408. How many times does 47 go into 408? Well, it's in the 400s, so it's almost 10 times. So we know it could be 9, it could be 8, it could be 7. You need off to the side to try 47 times 7. You should be trying 47 times 8 or 47 times 9 to get to the closest that we can get. If we try 7, 47 times 7 is going to give us 329, which we know we can get closer to that. 47 times 8 is going to give us 376, which is as close to 408 as we can get. So we're going to use 8. Remember, the decimal point right here is going to come straight up into our quotient. And then we're going to go ahead and continue. 376, when we subtract, we get 32. You can also think 8 minus 6 is 2. I went 40 minus 37 to get my 3, but you could also borrow and get 10 minus 7 is 3. I then bring down the 9. We look back up what we had earlier, and this is why you don't want to erase all of your extra work off to the side. We have 47 times 7 is 329. So we know 47 goes into 329 7 times, because that is 329. Subtract, we get a remainder of 0. And again, our decimal point, we're straight up, and we have 87 hundredths as our answer. Or, because we're dealing with money, $40.89, we have 87 cents is our answer. We're going to skip down to the try this. We have 79 and 35 hundredths, and we're going to divide this by 23. A lot of students like to, on decimal division problems, put their decimal point in their answer even before they start, which is an option if you would like to take this decimal point and place it straight up into your quotient. Then you don't have to worry about putting it there at the end. Remember to make sure that you have every digit lined up for your quotient above the number that you're dividing in your dividend. So let's look. 23 does not go into 7. So I can put an X, I can also put a 0. 23 goes into 79 3 times. If you're unsure, off to the side, we could be doing 23 times 2, which is 46. 23 times 3 is going to give us 69, and that's as close to 79 as we're going to get. So we go 3 times. We subtract 79 minus 69, and we get 10. We're not worried about the decimal point at all. We just divide this like we do whole numbers. So we're going to bring the 3 down. 23 goes into 109 how many times? Well, again, off to the side, we have 23 times 3. We need to go 23 times 4. That's 12. Carry the 1. 8 plus 1 gives me 9. 92. We could try to see if we can get closer. I don't think we're going to, but we could try 23 times 5, which is 115. So we know we're going to use 4. 23 times 4 was our 92. We then subtract, and we get an answer of 11. We bring the next number down, and we see again, how many times will 23 go into 115? We've already multiplied that. That is 5 times, which it is 115. Subtract, and you get a remainder of 0. If you have not placed your decimal point, and remember, your decimal point comes straight up in your quotient. Move it straight up. Again, keep your place values lined up. Just like any division problem, you can always check division with multiplication. We can take our quotient times our divisor, and that will give us our dividend. So we're going to go ahead and multiply 3 45/100 times the 23, which was our divisor. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 1 is 10. Drop the 0. 2 times 5 is 10. Carried my 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Get rid of this number here. And 3 times 2 is 6. Add these up, we get 5, 3, 9, 7. And remember from chapter 4, we count 1 decimal place, 2, plus 0 in the second one is going to give us 2 decimal places in our answer, in our product, 79 35/100, which is what our dividend was to start. So you can always check using multiplication. Let's go ahead and look down at the 2 example problems here at the bottom. We're going to write the quotient with the decimal point to place it correctly. So we're going to go ahead and set this up. Now, when you set your division problems up, it's very important to know when they write this, the first number is your dividend. It's the number that goes on the inside. And the second number is your divisor. It goes on the outside. Obviously, then the answer is our quotient. Now remember, every digit should have something above it. 2 goes into 4 2 times. So this is 246. If you needed to, you could divide it all the way out. But remember, everything should have something above it. So the 4 has the 2 above it, the 9 has the 4 above it, and the 2 has the 6 above it. If we work this out, we would get 246. The decimal point is going to move straight up into our quotient. So our answer to this problem is 2 46/100. Let's look at number 2. Again, the first 50 1600 goes on the inside. That's the dividend. We're dividing that by 38, which is the divisor. And our answer is 132, which is our quotient. Now, 38 is not going to go into 5. So that first number is actually an X, or we could put a 0 there. Then we have our 132. And like I said earlier, remember, every digit should have something above it. So even an X or a 0 if that number doesn't go into it. To place your decimal point, find your decimal point in the dividend, move it straight up. And the answer to 50 1600 divided by 38 is 1 32/100. 1 32/100. So on those kind of problems, just set it up, put the numbers above, and then move the decimal point straight up. We're going to go ahead and turn to the next page. And we have $8.24 divided by 8. 8 goes into 8 one time. We then subtract, and we get 0. You bring the next number down. 8 goes into 2 0 times. Because 8 times 0 is 0. We subtract. We get 2. Bring down the 4. 8 goes into 24 3 times. Because 8 times 3 is 24. We subtract, we get a remainder of 0. Remember, you always take your decimal point straight up into your quotient. 1 3/100. But since this is money, we're talking $1.03. $1.03. On number 4, we have 2 52/100 divided by 3. We could bring our decimal point straight up first if we wanted. We're going to take 3 into 2. It doesn't work. And since I'm in the ones place right in front of the decimal, I'm going to put a 0 and not an X, because you should always put a 0 in the ones place if there's not a digit. So that's good practice there. Now we're going to look at 3 going into 25. So we're looking at both numbers there. 3 goes into 25 8 times, because 3 times 8 is 24, and that's the closest that we can get to 25 without going over. We're going to subtract 25 minus 24 is 1. And again, we're not worried about our decimal point here. We've already moved our decimal point straight up. I don't have to worry about including it in my division problem. Move it up, and then you're done with it. We then bring our next number down, the 2. 3 goes into to 12 4 times, because 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract it, and we get a remainder of 0. Our answer is 84/100. If we look at question number 5, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here a little bit more so that we can see it a little bit better here. 97 2/10 divided by 27. 27 is not going to go into 9, so I'm going to put an X there. Or a 0. We could go ahead and put a 0 here as well. And then we look at 27 going into 97. Off to the side, I should be doing 27 times 2. 2 times 7 is 14. 2 times 2 would be 4, plus 1 is 5. So 54. I can get closer to 97 than 54 here. So 27 times 3. That's going to give me 81. That's as close to 97 as I'm going to get. So I'm going to use 3 here. 27 times 3 is 81. And then I subtract. I get 16. 7 minus 1 is 6. And 9 minus 8 would be 1. We're going to bring our decimal point straight up to get it out of the way. It's right behind the 3. I'm done with my decimal point now. I don't have to worry about it. We're going to move the 2 straight down, bring the 2 down. And now 27 goes into 162 how many times? Well, if I look at this, 81, I could double 81. So if I double 3, let's try 27 times 6. 6 times 7 is 42. 6 times 2 is 12, plus 4 is 16. That's the number we're looking for. 27 times 6. Go ahead and subtract, and you get a remainder of 0. Remember, every question is going to have a remainder of 0 today. If you don't get a remainder of 0, you did something wrong. So remember to check that. You can always check this answer here with multiplication by simply taking 3 6/10 times 27. Remember, when you enter your answer here, if there's extra zeros at the front, you can go ahead and get rid of them unless they're in the ones place. You can get rid of those extra zeros in the 10 or the hundreds place. You can also get rid of zeros at the back if they're all the way at the end of the number behind the decimal point. All right, guys, feel free to solve any of the questions down below here. You may check them with a calculator as well. If you continue on, you could pause this and work any of those problems out. I'll reveal the answers to 6 through 11. All right, the answers to number 6, $2.57. Number 7, 5.4. 8, 77 hundredths. Number 9, 2 and 23 hundredths. 10 is 9 and 8 tenths. And 11, 15.4, 15 and 4 tenths. As we look to our homework, go ahead and turn to the homework page. One more page here. Tonight we're going to do the even problems on the front. That would be 2, 4, 6, 8. And number 10, you can go ahead and skip question number 12. Go ahead and turn to the back. We are going to do all of the problems on the back. And as you set up here, Teresa pays $9.56 for 4 pounds of tomatoes. What's the cost of 1 pound? Anytime they give you multiple items with a cost and then they tell you to find one of those items, they're looking for the unit price or how much one would cost. You're just going to divide the total amount by how many items you bought. So $9.56 divided by 4 pounds, your answer will then tell you how much 1 pound cost. Number 2 is just go ahead and divide that out. Question number 3, as we look at this here, go ahead and zoom in just a little bit. This is an order of operations question. When we have order of operations, we are going to use PEMDAS. And this is a special type of order of operation because there are parentheses, brackets, and braces inside of here. And if you remember back to chapter 1, remember we work parentheses from inside out. So we're working parentheses first, then you're going to solve. So 3 plus 1 would be 4. Then we're going to rewrite everything. We have brackets, braces, divided by 12, a bracket, plus 6, squiggly little brace, and then times 2 out front. Then you work your brackets, and then you'll rewrite everything. Then you'll work the braces, and then you're done with the parentheses. You don't forget, multiplication at the end comes before subtraction. So remember, when you get to the end, you're going to multiply first and then subtract by 1. Okay, so make sure you work those brackets, then braces, then multiply, then subtract. So don't forget that order of operations there. Number 4, last month, Dory biked 11 times as many miles as Carly. So we have Dory and Carly. Together, they biked a total of 156 miles. So that is their total when you put them together. How many miles did Dory bike last month? When we have a total amount and we're breaking that apart, we know we're going to divide 156. But in this case, remember back to chapter 2, this is a question with boxes. Dory has 11 times as many as Carly. So Carly gets 1 box, and Dory is going to get 11 times that box. She has 11 times as much as whatever Carly has. So this goes back to, we're not going to divide by 11, we're going to divide by 12. 1 box for Carly, Dory gets 11 of those boxes. So we're dividing by 12. The answer that you get is Carly's amount. To solve this, you figure out what Carly's is, and then you take it times 11 to figure out Dory's. Okay, so divide 156 by 12, get your answer for Carly, and then multiply it by 11 for Dory. Number 5, Jen ran 15 2/10 miles over the weekend. He ran 6 75 hundredths miles on Saturday. How many miles did he run on Sunday? We have to find out the difference here. So this is a subtraction problem. We're going to go ahead and subtract those numbers. And remember, with subtraction of decimals, you need to line up the decimals. Line up your decimals. Number 6, a bakery used 475 pounds of apples to make 1,000 apple tarts. Each tart contains the same amount of apples. Same amount. It's telling you that you're going to divide. How many pounds of apples are used in each tart? I know it says the word each, but we're splitting those 475 pounds among 1,000 apple tarts. So the same amount tells us we're going to divide. 475 divided by 1,000. Remember, you do not have to actually divide that out. You can just simply swoop the decimal for division. Remember, in lesson 5.1, we talked about dividing by 10, 100, 1,000. Remember, you just need to move the decimal to the left. And remember how many times we move it for 1,000. That ends today's lesson. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to message Mrs. Loddock or I.